Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of the Untamed Trail. This one's going to be a bit different. I've had quite a few people asking about all the gear that I'm using, what rods, what reels, what line, all that sort of stuff. So today, this is going to be gear talk. So we're going to go in depth into what I'm using, what rods, reels, and what line I'm using on those reels, why I'm using them, what my thought process is, why I think it's a good choice or a bad choice, or changes I've made to it. And hopefully you guys can take something out of that. So I'm going to start with lightest to heaviest. Let's get into it. So the first rod I'm going to show you, and I don't have this paired up with the reel yet, is a little travel rod. So over this summer, I'm going to start doing a little bit more backpack hiking and trying to get to some really remote streams, predominantly to chase trout. So to do that, I wanted something really small, really packable, but still a good quality rod. So I've gone with the Zodias Travel. It is a 5-piece. It is 5 to 10 pound and 7 foot. So really good quality and going to be so much fun chasing trout up and around the Barrington and maybe a few other spots. So probably start of December, maybe mid-December, you might see me using this hopefully, and hopefully getting onto a few fish. That will be paired up with a 1000 Stradic, which pulls me to my next one. So this is my really light setup. So this right here is a Stradic 1000, and on that I have 6 pound, and that's 6 pound, it's not Ultracast by Berkeley, might be Ultracast. Yeah, whatever the blue one with Berkeley is, I can't remember. It's either Ultracast or something else. So this rod is 6'8", so a little bit shorter, and it's 4 to 8 pound or 2 to 4 kilo. I got this as a really nice lightweight second option for the kayak. So being that little bit shorter, a little bit easier to manage. I did have that 1000 on a few heavier rods last summer, but I found with the 6 pound and where I was fishing with a lot of structure, I just couldn't pull big fish out of the way. And I lost a couple last summer, which was very, very frustrating. So I've actually thrown it on this little one, and that's almost going to be a predominantly freshwater rod and reel. This, maybe some really light bass, but mostly it's going to be sort of trout and things like that. The rod I will probably use in different locations and different situations, but that 1000 reel with 6 pound on it is predominantly going to be freshwater and mostly for trout. And a little burning arc black shrimp there too. So now we move to my estuary workhorse. Now I absolutely love this combo. It is a 2500 Vanford by Shimano. It is a Shimano Zodias 7 foot, 3 to 6 pound. Super light, really nice and responsive on the tip, but with not a super fast taper on it. So when we talk about taper, we talk about the rod tip and how much flex that rod tip has. It's called like a parabolic, essentially. So we can see that rod tip is moving, and we're seeing it load all the way up here, which means for really light stuff, I can actually get quite a bit of movement into it. But when it's bigger and heavier, it's going to start loading a little bit further back. Now I quite like that with the way that I like to flick plastics. So I flick a lot of 4-inch, 3-inch, 2.5-inch, around that sort of size, fairly light jig heads as well. So the system around Foster, the waterway, it's quite shallow. So in most places, you're not going to be fishing in anywhere deeper than like 3 meters, often quite a bit more shallow than that. So because of that, I can have something really nice and light and fish really light, and having that quick, fast medium taper allows me to get it where I want to and be able to do soft little works with a lighter jig head. And I wouldn't be able to get that with a heavier rod. On that, I run 15 pound Expedition braid. Now this may seem like it's very heavy for the actual setup that I have, but not all braid is built equally. So Expedition braid, it is It's less than 0.15 millimeter. Millimeter? Yeah, millimeter. So to put that in perspective, it's 0.8 PE. So when we talk about braid, standard Jbraid Expedition, which is that blue one that you see on a lot of different rods and reels, 10 pound in that is 0.15. This at 15 pound is actually a tiny bit below that. So what that means is I get an extra 50% breaking strain in my braid for the same diameter. So fantastic for cast length, but also super strong. And that's why I've been running the Expedition braid on quite a few of my reels now. What I will say with that is when you look at braid, you need to look at it with your eyes on what braid strength you're going to be using. So with Expedition braid, 15 pound of that is equivalent to 10 pound in Jbraid. However, the 20 pound version or the 30 pound version may be completely different. So you really need to dial in what poundage you're looking at or what diameter you're looking at, and then make the best decision for yourself. But for me, in the estuaries, 15 pound Expedition, I've been running it now for, I want to say almost 6 months, and it's been fantastic. Cast really smooth, really clean, haven't had any breaks or snaps or strains. Super impressed by it. And like I said, managed to get 15 pound for the same diameter as 10 pounds. So really happy with that. So that's that one. I will also cut now. So I'm also running on that a brand new lure, well, color. So that is what I'm going to call the whiting color on a 4-inch paddle tail. Now, it is Black Friday. It's the 22nd. It actually is the 22nd. I'd show you my phone, but that's just weird. So to celebrate, that's the whiting color there. This is going to be the first 4-inch paddle tail available, and I'm going to be running the 4-inch for $12 a packet. But because it's Black Friday, you guys are going to get 50% off all 4-inch. All you need to use is the code BF4. Couldn't be much easier. So BF4 on all of the 4-inch, well, not that one, and you get 50% off that. So $6 basically delivered to your door. And while we're on the topic of Black Friday, we're also doing 30% off the entire store. So to get that, all you need to type in when you've selected your product is BF30. That's off all of the shrimp, all of the 3-inch paddle tails. Doesn't matter which color, pick, choose as many as you want. 30% off your total order, free shipping Australia-wide. So you're getting a packet of plastics for under $7 shipped to your door. Anyway, back to the back to the tackle talk. So the next one I've got is my other estuary workhorse. This one's a little bit heavier. So this is a new Stradic FM 2500 with the Expedition 15. I'm not going to go into why because you already know. And I'm running that on a tcurve, and that is a 2 to 5 kilo, 6'10" 2-piece. I don't hate this rod, but I'm definitely not the biggest fan of it. However, it does have a decent amount of grunt. So for throwing slightly bigger plastics, slightly heavier plastics, or for trolling, this little combo actually does really well. And that's why I've got it on with the little Tango shad. So this is the one I've been trolling with on the Predator lately. For that is absolutely fantastic, but for the taper that it's got and the way that I fish, not the biggest fan with it for soft plastics. But like I said, this is all about finding what works for you, your water system, the currents that you fish in, the weights that you fish in, the size of your plastics. For me, great little combo, but the rod's a little bit weird. That may go on what I've got the 1000 Stradic on as well, and that's 6'8". So that's that one. Now we're going to move to some slightly bigger stuff. So this is a pretty new setup for me. Well, a new rod for me. It's the TD Hyper 7-foot medium heavy. Now I bought this rod specifically for throwing big heavy swim baits. So right now I've got my lure box on it. Essentially this is just for throwing heavy stuff in an estuary. So at 7'2", it's rated for 4 to 9 kilos and a cast weight of 7 to 40 grams. So throwing those big heavy ones with it. I've got that paired up currently with a Twin Power 5000. That's the saltwater version, not your standard Twin Power. On that Twin Power, I have 30-pound pentagram Jbraid. Now again, I'm not going to go into the super specifics about which braid's best for you. When I was doing my research and figuring out what I wanted to put on the Twin Power, I had a look around, I talked to a lot of people, and I decided to go with the 30-pound in the pentagram. So far been fantastic, absolutely no problems with it. I can't fault it, to be honest. That's pretty much it. Now, this setup, well, this reel paired with this rod is probably a little bit unbalanced. So probably in the future I'm going to swap out that reel and pair it more towards something like a compact 3000 or 4000 without being saltwater rated. So this Twin Power from memory is about 490 grams, where I'm looking at adding a reel onto it that's going to weigh probably closer to 320. So right now, pretty heavy setup. I can throw it most of the day, but definitely you start to get a little bit of shoulder pain, finger pain, all that sort of stuff from having a heavier unit. So we'll look at sort of changing that reel in there. But that Twin Power 5000 is it's probably my favorite reel. It is just such an unbelievable workhorse. I've had this now for I don't know, have a look at the tape, at least 12 months, and just been in love with it. Upgraded from a Saragosa, which we're going to talk to about in a sec, but yeah, just absolutely amazing. It handles load incredibly well. And when I mean load, what I mean by that is when I'm fighting a fish, I won't have any sort of movement in the reel. So this is something that the new Stradics do incredibly well, and something that your cheaper reels won't, is when you are having constant weight and load on that fish, you may occasionally feel like there's a little bit of slippage. So anytime you have a little bit of jerkage with your reel, you may find that actually increases the tension put on that line at that one moment. So I like to think of it as this: if I got my line right there and I've got even tension the entire fight, I know roughly what weight and what tension that line's going to have. If I'm slipping and I'm putting less and more tension on that line, that's when I've got the chance of a knot failing, or the line snapping, or the fish spitting a hook. So having that much better and much more even distribution of pressure that you get from your better reels like your Twin Powers and the new Stradic FMs just makes it so much easier to fight fish than going sort of your cheaper style ones. Everyone has a budget, completely understand that. I'm pretty lucky with the career that I have. I work at a fishing store, so I get things a bit cheaper than some, so completely understand that. But for me, having the ability to step up into a reel class like this, you just have so much more confidence in fighting a fish. You know that you're going to have, like I said, that even distribution of weight, and you just more confidence in it. So yeah, don't want to say go out and buy a Twin Power, but they are absolutely bloody awesome, and a really nice sort of knob on it as well. Can get a little bit slippery. That's my only sort of comeuppance about it, compared to some of the Saragosa knobs. But absolutely love this combo. Going to be throwing this a heck of a lot more when we come into summer and we go onto more of the flats and these big swim glides. I may have something coming very soon from America in terms of molds. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. So we move on from there to a jigging rod. Now this is a 6'2", and that's PE 2 to 3. Now, as you go up in weight classes for rods, you'll find that they actually stop using kilograms and they'll start using a system called PE. So PE, it actually comes back from the silk trade, and it used to talk about the diameter of silk, essentially. So they've actually integrated that into fishing. So PE 1 is 0.18 of a millimeter, no, 0.18 of a centimeter. Yeah, centimeter. So yeah, got a little bit sidetracked. So PE 2 to 3, the easiest way to sort of understand it is you just times it by 10, and that's the weight in poundage. So PE 2 to PE 3 is a 20 to 30 pound rod. So that's what this one is. So 20 to 30 pound is 9 to 16 kilo, or 9 to 15 kilo. So that's what this rod is for. It's mostly for jigging, so vertical jigging. I might, if I do get a second swim bait reel, I may actually use this as a second backup swim bait rod. But essentially it's just a really short, heavy rod. I'm going to hopefully get a kayak soon that I can go offshore in a lot more confidently. And we'll go jigging for some reds and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of strength there, a lot of power there. And yeah, fits under the wing, really nice, really comfortable. But doesn't get a lot of use at the moment because I don't use it much at the moment. Next is half of my favorite rod. This is the Penn Prevail 9'6", medium heavy. This is basically the rod you'll see me use in almost every single rock fishing video. I'll definitely carry 2 rods at times, and you will see me use other ones, but this is my absolute favorite. It is, like I said, 9'6", 10 to 15 kilo, 50 to 150 gram cast weight, medium fast taper. So remember we're talking about that. So just an absolutely awesome rod. They are, I don't want to say indestructible, but they're about as close as you can get. I am pretty terrible with all of my gear. I really don't look after it. I fall on it. I'm a bit clumsy on the rock sometimes. I hit it. Like I said, not great with my gear. And this thing has gone, I've had this one at least 4 years now, and just keeps going. It is just an absolute beautiful piece of just high quality, incredibly well made, and durable. Now, Penn are a pretty weird company, at least I find. They make some really shit stuff, and then they make some incredible things. So the Penn Slammer reels, if you want something waterproof as a reel, you don't go anywhere else. Like if you want to kayak fish and you're worried about getting submerged, you go a Slammer. Penn Prevails, they're in that same sort of class. Just absolutely awesome, and for the money as well. These guys aren't that expensive. A 9'6" is about the 220 bucks retail. You can definitely find it cheaper. Bloody awesome. And this is my other 9'6", but this is my heavy stick. So this is a 12 to 24 kilo, but 50 to 120 gram cast weight. So remember when I was talking about the Prevail, 50 to 150? This one's rated for more, but because it's got a slightly different build quality in it, its actual cast weight is a little bit less. Yeah, I use this pretty much as a second option when I'm rock fishing. If I want to go heavy, if I'm going to be live baiting, that sort of stuff, I'll normally run the 10,000 reel on this, and then I'll run the 5,000 twin on the 9'6". Yeah, it's the Diawa sensor wave. Cheaper option, definitely a cheaper option. I think they're about 180 bucks retail. Fuji guides, Alkanite Ks, I'm pretty sure from memory. So anytime you want to look for a good rod and reel, or good, definitely not a reel, a rod, if you find a little swing tag that says Fuji guides on it, that gives you an idea that that rod is actually going to be a pretty reasonable sort of one. So good little tip for you guys. Yeah, like I said, one that I use a little bit. You'll definitely see it in some videos, but not one that I use. Definitely not a main rod, but still good fun. And this brings me to the Saragosa 6000 saltwater rated on a classic surf spin 10 6 5 to 8 kilo. Now this is actually my drummer setup at the moment. So I fell in love with drummer fishing this winter and decided to get a dedicated setup for it because I was having so much fun. I had an older Saragosa. When I upgraded my twin power, this basically became a second reel. I was running braid on that and using it on the sensor wave, but decided to make this a dedicated drummer or light beach setup. So on that I have 10 kilo low stretch mono. Now there's a lot of debate about mono and braid. The fantastic thing about mono, it stretches a little bit, but it's so incredibly abrasive resistant when compared to braid. So if you're going to be fishing on the beach around a lot of structure, a lot of sand, reef, that sort of stuff, mono is absolutely fantastic for it. And that's where drummer are. So that's why we've got the mono on that. And we've got that paired with a 5'8", 10'6". Now some people might think that's a little bit long for the rocks. With the rocks around here, and probably in most places, there is quite a few sort of undertow ledges. And I actually find having that little bit of extra length allows me to get out over that ledge, and half the time I can pull the fish out a little bit more. So I've actually found that I'm getting reefed less having that longer rod than I would if I was running, say, the 9'6". Fun fact, this rod was part of a combo, and that was the first one I bought when I moved back to Australia 5 years ago. Love the rod. Don't know where the reel is, but absolutely love that rod. And just an absolutely awesome little drummer setup, and you'll definitely be seeing that next winter. And that leads me to the big, heavy setup. I won't say beach, it is set up for beach at the moment, but, well, the rod's definitely a beach rod. But that reel there is a 10,000 twin power saltwater. And on that I have, I want to say it's 40 or 50 pound pentagram. I can't actually remember, that's really bad. I'm pretty sure it's 50 pound. Yeah, it was 50 pound. So essentially I bought this reel for a few different purposes. The main one was just heavy land-based spin. So I want to go, we tried a few times last year, well this year, but I want to go and chase really big pelagic fish land-based. By pelagic I mean like longtail tuna, Spanish mackerel, cobia, all those big fish, kingfish, all that sort of fun stuff. So I bought this reel basically for that, and have kitted it out for that. It is an absolutely awesome reel. When I talk about sort of loading and things like that, there is no give. It's an even distribution. It is just, it's beautiful. Honestly, they're bloody expensive. You definitely don't get your knickers twisted in it. You're paying a lot of money to get a really good reel, but it is bloody beautiful. And this currently is paired with a sensor wave beach rod, so that is a 12-foot two-piece, 8 to 20 kilo. You saw this last week when I caught the Jew. This is just my standard sort of beach setup. I will occasionally use that 10'6" as a secondary, but most of my beach fishing, the main part of it will be running off this rod and this reel. So that's it, guys. We covered a lot of different things in this, and I had I actually really enjoyed talking about it. So if you do have any further questions, please hit me up, chuck it in the comments, let me know what you're thinking, what you guys like, what you don't like, what you enjoy running with for different situations. I love getting feedback like that. I love learning about different types of techniques and what people use, so please don't ever feel like what you're doing is silly. If it works for you, it works for you. You need to find that sweet spot for how you go about your fishing. This is what sort of works for me, but I'm always experimenting, always trying to find new ways to go and chase and catch more fish, guys. So yeah, hope you really enjoyed that. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget, BF30 to get 30% off the entire store, and BF4 to get 50% off the 4-inch paddle tail in the whiting colour. Have a good time, guys. Have fun with it. Hit that like and subscribe. I'll catch you all in the next episode.